do. And they didn't see them, and that's why he didn't see it.
Welcome, Mazecast episode 14. That was Barry you heard singing and strumming us into the episode. Greg couldn't be here with us tonight, so I asked Barry if he could do the usual honors of opening with a song. I think he filled the spot nicely. I don't think we really have any need to ever have Greg back on the show. So I'd say I'd say to Greg something, if you're watching, it's been a pleasure to know you, but I know that Greg doesn't watch any episodes that he's not in, so he's never going to see this. Okay, so tonight we're going to be focusing on Room 5. Barry, do you have, I can't remember, you got the book, right? But you just...
I do have the book.
Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at Room 5. Before that, I think I should address the episode 13 last week what happened when I wasn't here. Did either of you guys watch episode 13?
This was the best of?
Yes.
No, I managed to catch that one.
Okay, you saw it. Well, I was hoping Alex I knew Greg wasn't going to be here, and I was hoping Alex was going to be here, and I was going to ask Alex, should I go through and correct all the errors that were made during that episode, or should I just say that there were errors and then let it go at that? And he's not here to say which you would prefer. Either way, it's shitty. Either way, I'm being shitty. It was such a nice thing they did. They said nice things about me. But then I took down like a page full of errors that came out of that episode that I felt like should be corrected. First of all, I was not sick. There was no reason why I couldn't participate in a webcast except that Alex and Greg both had time free earlier in the day when they could do a podcast. And so I said, that's great, do it without me, and it will help clarify, or it will show that this podcast is not all about me, even though I'm in all the episodes and it was on my channel before. It's a group of people who are doing it. That's great to do an episode without me. And so I say that, and then what's Greg's idea for the episode? Hey, let's do an episode all about Vince. Not only that, but they do my top 10 solves, which is, I guess, funny because I'm, a big advocate for not crediting people with their solutions. I think the solutions are something that are already in the book that we're just like pulling out of it. It's not like you're the author of the solution. And I don't like, and I think it makes people competitive when they shouldn't be cooperative. It leads to, I don't know, people trying to get credit for themselves rather than working with a group, where I don't like people being credited with solutions, whatever. And then there were errors in a ton of the solutions. I don't know. What do you think? Am I just being an asshole I think
if you start listing those out, you're going to start sounding like a bit of an asshole, dude.
Okay.
I think there's opportunities of a 20-year-old. But
all right, if I've got the opportunity to, if the point at which I start sounding like an asshole hasn't been reached yet, then I guess I'll quit while I'm ahead. I will just note there are some errors with the solutions that were given in episode 13. Proceed with caution in following the statements made there. I will specify that I did not discover the solution of turning the book upside down in room 29. I said that to Greg as a joke. I don't know whether he repeated it as a joke, but that was not my solution. That was, it's independently discovered by virtually everyone who reads the book. That was nothing particular to me in 29.
I didn't mention that.
What's that?
I didn't remember them mentioning that. That is kind of obvious.
They did. And
And that's why I'm not sure whether
I said it as a joke, and I didn't know whether Greg carried it out as a joke. If he did a wonderful job because he did it so straight-faced. He convinced me that he was actually claiming that I discovered the secret door in 29.
Wow, that is a it's upside down.
Yeah. Maybe Barry should be credited. He just found the secret door in 29.
It's like
funny.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was so nice. The things they said were so nice. I really appreciated it. But and then I just had to weep for it to kind of sit in my mouth about, the things they said that weren't true, and should I say anything about it or whatever.
I think you should put an exhaustive list of the errors in the about section on this YouTube video, so that people can go through that at their leisure and you can set the record completely straight and not.
That's a good idea. I don't have to sit through it. I've already agonized over it enough. Okay. So room 5. I'll start going through the solutions, and maybe we'll break it up a little more than we usually do. Usually we would, I'll just read straight through everything, and then other people talk about what they've got. But there are only a handful of us here, and I don't think Barry knew that we were going to be doing room 5 and prepared for it or anything. So maybe we'll just go solution by solution or topic by topic and talk about what's going on here. Room 5, it's one of those weird rooms that's considered to be on the path, but it's not on the shortest path, whether you call it the side path or whatever. It's a room that you can go to and get back on the path without going back to 1. And for that reason, it's not completely clear what the best room is to take from here. It kind of depends on your situation. Room 5 has 2 doors that will take you to the trap and 2 doors that will take you back onto the path, the true path, the shortest path in and out. I guess you could say if you're headed in, the quickest door to get there is room 30, and if you're headed out, the quickest room to get there is door 20. But I'm not totally sure if that's the way that these rooms are cluing you to go. The reason why I'm not sure that taking the shortest path from wherever you are to the entrance or the exit is the right way to go is because if you actually look at the directions, you see, for a long time, I took the point of the book to be get to the center and get back out in as few moves as possible, and then get to the center and back out, and then the optimal way to do it is 60. What the directions actually say is your challenge is to find your way from room 1 to room 45, and then back again, and then back to room 1 using the shortest possible path, which suggests to me that making it to 45 and back along any path besides the shortest path it's a failure. That's not the goal of the book. And so I sort of think that, these rooms, room 2, room 5, all these rooms that are off the path, but still you can get back to the path. I kind of suspect that the right way to go from them is whatever takes you back to where you deviated from the path, which means that, if you went from, let's say you went to 20 first, you go from room 1 to room 20, and then from room 20 to room 5. Now, to continue on to the center of the maze, the quickest way is to go to room 30, and then you're essentially right back on track, although you can't make it in 16 steps. But if that means that's not what you're trying to do, then you don't want to go to room 30 and continue on. You want to go back to room 20, go back to room 1, and then go to room 26, and then room 30, et cetera, et cetera.
So it sounds as though that would mean that room 20, under that paradigm, room 20 is the correct door no matter which way. Is that right?
If you came from room 20, but, I guess I see what you're saying.
It really is the shortest when you're at 30.
It depends on how you look at stepping off the path. Like, let's say you go to room 26 first, then you go to room 30. You step off the path from room 30 to room 5, the true path. Now, at that point, are you expected to start over all the way from 1 because you didn't do it in 16 steps? Or can you go back to 30 and continue on from there? I could see it both ways. If you continue back on to 30, maybe you haven't technically done it in 16 steps, but you still, when you're done, you could have discovered the 16-step path. You know, I kind of feel like these side rooms are all going to clue you to go back to 1 as soon as you step off. As soon as you step, off the true path, I think you can step back onto the path and then complete it. I just think that they clue you to go back to the place where you stepped off the path. So in a sense, it's sort of telling you to, or the best solution here, whether the room tells you that or not, I don't know. But it seems like the good solution would be to tell you to come back the way you came. If you came here from 30.
You feel the same way about room 2? Because that's really the close analog.
Yes. I think room 2 is essentially the same too, even with the same caveat. And the caveat is that you could go to room 30, go to room 42, from 42, go to, no, not to 4, but, well, you could go to room 4, and then from 4, you could go to 15, and from 15, you could go to,
38 or 37.
Yeah, I need to be looking at the map. Anyway, you can go from 30 back around and then get to room 20 and go from 20 to 5, so that you've entered from 20, but where you stepped off the path was in 30 and you're still on the way in, right? You can circle without going all the way to the center. You can circle around to 20, go to 5 from 20, and then if you just want to pick up the path where you stepped off it, you would want to go back to 30 and continue on from there. I don't know. Or, I mean, if we look at it that if you step off the path, you need to go back to 1 and start over, then 20 is the best decision, hands down. Go to 20 and be done. All right. So, boy, that was a belabored point. Next time that Alex and Greg are so grateful to me for keeping this podcast up, they just need to pay attention to what happens when they're not there to keep things moving. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Well, so I really like the idea of trying to find a way to get to have a single door that we're looking for here instead of trying to find wishy-washy solutions for both. But I'm not convinced. You would have to make an argument that would convince me about room 2 as well, that these in between rooms are directing you to go to try to start over, basically start fresh.
Yeah, and I do think that room, that's an interesting question. If you wanted to go back to the beginning, room 2, what would be the shortest route to do it? And it
have to be 12, right? Because
it would be
12 and 29. So
right, it would have to be 12.
Which is weird because we've always, well, I never loved this, but most people tend to think that 29 is more strongly signified than 12 is.
Yeah,
I tried to look at a balanced solution between both of them, but
I tried. Yeah, I mean, it seems like at least 29 is clued. At least I don't see much to say that 12 is correct and 29 and 22 are wrong. We found stuff that solutions that suggest 29 or 12 could be right. Yeah, I mean, and who knows? And maybe it's just not consistent. Maybe there's not that kind of unerring accuracy in the room, such that they always provide a clue that accounts for your particular situation in going through the maze. Maybe they do leave it open. Like if you've got 2 routes back to the path, they just clue you back somewhere to the path. And
I mean, if there were any rooms where that would be ambiguous, these would be the two rooms.
yeah, yeah. And on that note, I mean, this room is almost explicitly ambiguous in the text when it says, "What were their chances of choosing wisely? 1 in 4, 2 in 4, perhaps, if I was generous about it." So it seems to be acknowledging, okay, there's one door that's going to be the best for you, but realistically, there are 2 doors that are going to be okay for you. So
I was just like in the 5 minutes before this podcast, I was looking at I was juggling around a pretty shitty solution idea, which was that so you have the word fourth repeated 4 times, so you have 4 fourths, and they're each 5 letters, and that could make 20, which could maybe be a thing if you wanted to just focus on 20, but I guess I'm not. It's hard to just look away from 30 and say that we shouldn't be looking for cues for 30 as well on this one.
yeah, yeah. There's some math stuff there.
Yeah.
It's not all as direct. Like it's all like just kind of that the numbers are there, and if you work with the numbers, you can get to it. I mean, like it gives you the 1/4, and okay, like we're in room 5, which is 1/4 of room 20. 20 is the only number there that's divisible by 4. 2 and 4. It's got that 2 and 4. Sorry, what's that?
You can go on. I'll just say something afterward.
Okay.
From the web.
And this is sort of taking us a little afield, but it's got the 2 and 4 perhaps, and something interesting on this page with the nails that are in the signs is that obviously each sign has 4 nails, 1 in each corner, but on room 22 you can't see one of them. It's covered up by room 30. 2 of them are covered up. You can't see 2 of them. So that phrase 1 in 4, 2 in 4, perhaps. If those 2 were the right doors, I could see making an argument that 1 in 4 that refers to 22, 1 nail covered up, but 30, then 2 and 4 refers to 30 with the 2 nails covered up.
The other thing you could do, the other strategy there, you could get a little fuzzy with the word in, and you could read it as an and instead, like 2 and 4. 2 and 4, that would be 30 and 20 because it's the 2 nails and the 4 nails left to right in order. But that's pretty smart.
2 and 4? Yeah.
4. That relies on English just slurring the word and until you lose the D, which is weak.
Yeah. Something interesting that Greg pointed out today, it's another false solution that seems like it would be a good solution, and it seems like something was going on there. I mean, well, let me talk about the orthodox interpretation, or I should say the abyss interpretation. I shouldn't just say the abyss. It is probably the orthodox interpretation of that easel is fourth width, fourth right, fourth word, fourth blank, and then we're supposed to fill in that blank with a word, and the word. Oh, they've got someone covered in the middle. And the word is coming, forthcoming is what it's supposed to be. It could be forthgoing. Oh. But anyway, then that's been taken to say, well, that means we're looking for the 4th door. But the problem I've always had with that is that, number one, the sign could just have the word 4 on it, and it gets you the same place. Like, I don't see what the 4th width, 4th right, 4th word, 4th coming gets us anywhere. It's if it's just cluing us to take the 4th door. It doesn't seem like there was any need to have that blank there. It seems like the blank is drawing our attention to the word coming. And I think that was generally interpreted to be refer to room 20 because that's the 4th door counting from the left. I think if you buy that interpretation, probably a better reading of it is the 4th door in the sequence of door closings. Because as you go from, if you look at the door to 30, then 22, 43, then 20, the door is slowly opening. If you go, ooh, terrible holding this up. If you go in the reverse order, it's the door is closing. It's not clear which way you want to go, whether it's the door opening or closing. But either way you go, you land on either 20 is the last door or 30 is is the fourth door. 30 is the fourth door. That does direct you in the right place. Although again, all it's really telling us is fourth, and it doesn't seem like 3 words that already have fourth in them, and then fourth and a blank should be there just to clue the word fourth. Now, if the word is forthcoming, maybe that's supposed to tell us that with the door it's be coming towards us, and so that would give us room 30, which also, if we are coming into the maze, then that would be the way to go, and it would be the right door. And if it's in the fourth going, if you're going, then if you're going out of the maze and you look at the door as going away from you, then 20 would be the door you want to go to, and that is in fact the correct door that you'd want to go to if you were on your way out of the maze. So it could be could be a legit interpretation of that. But Greg said something today that seems to me that if it were the right answer, I think we would all think it's a good answer. It's one of those, which is that it could be or 3. Like, it doesn't not that it actually spells out a real English word, but it's just what goes in the blank could be REE, so that what it's cluing is 4, 3. In other words, door 43, which the easel is actually right there in front of.
I think that's cool. But that strikes me as no more or less valid than Mr. Gentile's suggestion that you could read it as forethought and therefore take it as the ought to take the fourth door. If you're going to play around with spelling either of those.
Yeah. Except I think it's less of a slippage to take FOR and then as the number 4 than to just leave the E out of forethought for no particular reason. And again, even if you do forethought, I mean, again, then you're still just essentially cluing the word for or fourth. I mean,
right, I see. Okay, so you're right. They're not exactly equal because Greg's does have the advantage of sort of queuing both those, which is nice.
No, you mean you can, if we use the same sort of somewhat silly things that were used elsewhere, we could say, the poster has 4 corners and it's on an easel with 3 legs, so that gives you 4, 3. I mean, I guess you could also, it is interesting that he's got the easel there. There are a lot of rooms that have just signs with stuff on it, or just like a piece of paper lying on the floor sometimes. There's no particular reason why this had to be on an easel. So there could be something going on here with 3 coming from the 3 legs on this thing. I don't know. I mean, what's that?
This easel and the easel in room 1. That's it, right?
Yeah. Well, no, they're in 19 too. The Sun Man Manson room, the painter.
Oh yeah, of course.
So, yeah, we got 3 easels in here. If you took the 3 legs as a 3 on the easel and the blank on the paper as a 0, that gives you 3 0. Just be respectful, okay? No, I don't like that clip either, but it's I don't know. It's there's got to be some reason I think that's on an easel, not just hanging on the wall or lying on the floor, because in other places that stuff is. I think the easel's there for a reason. Maybe it's there for something other than 3. I don't know. But that's I think the ideas that are out there for the easel and the 4 stuff. Let me see here. Let's go to I'll try to go through the stuff that's in the picture first and then kind of go through the text. Now we've got this tree in the foreground, which it's got a branch on the left that kind of points to and touches the door to room 22. It also encircles the sign for room 30 and overlaps with the door from room 30 quite a bit. I've suggested, at least halfway seriously, that in the text where it says they entered a very long, dark corridor and at last came out into, that the very long, dark corridor could refer to the tree in the foreground itself, which is notably darker than everything else in the room and does overlap with room 30. It has some long branches that extend across room 30 and around room 30 and to go outside the picture. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to make of that very long, dark corridor statement.
I would love it if you could say that it's a long, dark corridor because that tree is casting a shadow into it, but unfortunately it's not light is.
Yeah, the shadow is coming our way. And Greg suggested that all the stumps on these trees could themselves be zeros, meant to include room 30 and room 20. So I don't know. You know that they're somewhat circular, although it doesn't look like Manson really went out of his way to make any of them look like perfect circles or zeros, you know?
Yeah, you do have the some of them look kind of hexagonal. You do have the three circular holes in each leg of the easel, which you can see. I would love it if there were 2 and 3, like 2 O's and 3 O's, but in fact you really do have 3 on each side, but those are some things.
Yeah. Yeah, those holes too. I mean, there's no particular reason to have those on there, and that has to mean something, right? Folks
There aren't any holes on the easel in room 1, actually, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and it's just, there's just no particular reason why that detail would need to be there. Yeah, I think it's probably just too easy to look for zeros. I don't know. I mean, we've got the bell being a 0 in room 26. I think that's okay. We've got room 37 with all the stuff that's a 0 when you look at it from the top, and I think that's probably okay. I'm sure we've got 2 rooms that are correct that have zeros in it, but I think we might be reaching too far to take these things and say that it's included to be 0. I mean, the base of the trees are circular for what that's worth, but I don't know. I'm not totally convinced on that one. No. What else do we have in the picture? We've got the tower.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the tower and the flower at all.
The tower and the flower. They rhyme. That's something we've got there. And I think I don't know if we're only calling that picture a tower because it rhymes with flower. It does look like a tower. It's a little hard to make out the detail. I mean, I could see calling it a palace or a castle or something, but it does seem to be a tower in the foreground.
Yeah, it seems like a larger structure, but the tower is definitely foregrounded.
We've got tower and flower, and there's some mention
like hour something. Didn't you suggest hour or something at one point? Like just tossing out other words that would rhyme?
Yeah, that they're both words of like with hour, or it's like the word hour with stuff stuck on the beginning. And I wondered if maybe that there was some reason why the room would want to be cluing us to hour. And I also suggested that the room itself could be called a bower, although that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, if you're familiar with bowers, they're like these sort of enclosures, usually like tunnels or something, but they're made by weaving the branches of trees together. That's not exactly what's going on in this room. It doesn't look like the trees are actually forming a roof here.
It's supporting it, at least. I kind of like that. I mean, I think it's an interesting observation.
It could be. It could be that we've got bower, tower, and flower here. And maybe the suggestion is supposed to be hour for some reason. There is some discussion of time in the text. I encourage them to take their time, whether that's enough to tie in with the idea of an hour. for what it's worth, I mean, an hour, 60 minutes, it would be divisible by 30 and 20. There is some stuff about fractions in the text, but not 1/3 and 1/2. It's 1/4 and 1/2. So that seems like a bit of a stretch.
I'm sorry, where did it say 1/2?
Well, it doesn't. It says 2 and 4.
It's 2 and 4, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even speak of it in fractional terms exactly. So that seems like a stretch, but it does seem like there's a reason for those things to be rhyming. There's something about the sound there that I don't know, we haven't put together, and I don't have a good explanation for. Greg pointed out something interesting here too, which is with regard to the tower. If you came here from room 20, that's the room that has the two towers in it, the hero tower and the tower. And if you came to room 5 from 20, you went to the room that the tower was pointing to. So if you came here from room 20, tower, that tower on the door to 22 would very much seem to be a clue leading you on a path to 22, which once again is wrong. I think every case we've found of following an object because you saw it before is wrong, with the exception of the top hat related clues. And he mentioned if you came from room 30, you just came from a room with a fake tree, and now you're in a room full of trees. And he noted that in regard to the statement, I told him the trees were as real as anything else in the house. Which he took. The thing is, there's two different ways to take that statement. He took that statement to mean everything in the house has the same degree of reality. Everything in the house is as real as everything else. If the trees are as real as everything else. That's another way to understand an expression like that, though, is just to say that there's nothing in the house that's more real than them. Like if I were at a party and I said, I'm as cool as anybody at this party, it doesn't mean that everyone has equal level of coolness, or what weird example to use. But just that essentially there's no one there who's cooler than me, right?
Right.
And
like at least as real as anything else in the house, basically, is the definition.
Right. So
Everything.
I'm not totally sure which way it's meant, although I do agree that there is certainly an implication here that the guide's suggesting there's a certain level of irreality to what's going on in the maze.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, too, I mean, he talks about things being real in here. The flower is real. The tower is just a drawing of a tower. It's not a real tower.
Well, I don't know if you want to just assume that the flower is real.
Well, it's as real as anything else in the maze.
Well, okay, it's a tangible present object. If that's it's not necessarily a flower.
Right. I mean, that's all I mean, is that the flower is an actual flower object. The tower is not a tower. It's a drawing of a tower.
Right.
Now, so does this text about things being real or not real, does that really mean that we should gravitate towards the real thing, which is the flower, which is between room 20 and 30? I don't know that it's really adequately clued here to say that you should move towards a real thing and eschew the fake thing, the tower. But it does seem to be a running theme in the maze that when something is fake, that it's bad. Like you've got the fake tree in 30, which stands in front of the wrong door. And when you've got like the empty wine bottles, they point towards the wrong door. What else we have? We have fake devils in room 26 that indicate the wrong doors. What else do we have that's fake? Anything I can't think of off the top of my head? We've got a mention of theatrical backdrops in 22, and in from room 2, with the entrance to room 22, we've got the fake either bushes or trees behind the doorway leading in there.
Right.
So it is certainly a running theme that when you've got something that's phony, it's leading you astray. Although I guess it's problematic if we start treating drawings of things as false things, because certainly there are good doors that are marked with drawings or whatever.
That's
Nevertheless, that's that was an interesting point that Greg brought up. Gentile mentions the idea that these trees are truncated. I'm not sure what that really does for us, but and I'm not sure. I don't remember why I mentioned it either. I wrote down the word truncation after I went to his site. I'm sure there's more to it than what I've just said, but now I can't remember what it is.
Well, he's trying to draw out the idea of multiplication here.
Oh yeah.
And he's trying to draw out multiplication, division, and power, and we have mathematics, and then we get roots, and
and I got an email from our buddy Thale Kreider, Hidden Mystery, in regard to this room as well. And let me see what he added. Something he added, which I think is interesting, is he noted that this is a forest room, and with the emphasis on forest, which clues us to anything. But I think it's interesting. I could see if Manson's constructing this room, and he has this puzzle where he says, it's gonna say, forthwith, fourth right, fourth word, fourth blank, and it's gonna have 4 doors. It talks about 1 and 4 and 2 and 4. That if he's deciding, okay, what kind of a room is gonna be? Oh, it's gonna be a forest. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can see that being kind of a design motif, if not really a puzzle solution.
Right.
Both Thale Kreider and Alex have tried to make something of the fourth word on here to see if maybe it relates to its fourth word in something.
Right, I remember that was mentioned. The 4th word in the text is R, which is...
Yeah, we didn't have anything seriously to make of that. We offered a few facetious uses of the word R. No. Or, is it an indication to go forward, but then really what does that mean? Who knows? If there were a way to relate that to the opposite, to say that we should go backward, that would be helpful. If we found a clue in here that said go backward, that would be nice, because then we would know it's telling us to get back on the path. In fact, if you did interpret that as telling you to go forward, it greatly increases the chances, somewhat increases the chances you're going to pick the wrong door, because it means one of the 2 correct doors you could go to, whatever door you came from, is out, and 2 of the 3 remaining ones are wrong. But I kind of suspect that it's just one of the few words that starts with fourth, and Manson was setting up a puzzle that has to do with fourth, not that the particular words mean anything.
No.
Although fourth right, I don't know if we don't.
I think this was something that I was going to mention, just because it's so much easier to pick at other people's ideas than trying to come up with original ones of your own. I wanted to highlight a comment from Schmitza, who tried to map the 4, which is a pretty natural intuition, to try to map the 4 words on the easel to the doors in order. So 43 is forthwith, and 22 is forthright, and so on, and tried to turn that into a solution that would cue 30 and 20. And it was interesting, but I feel like as soon as you do that, you generate a problem, which is that now you have forthright mapped to rim 22, which is like the worst door you can pick. And you have to, any solution you could come up with there, you would have to sort of edge around the fact that, oh, it's the right door. Why don't I just go to forthright on 22? So as much as that seems like it seems like a really obvious puzzle solving step because you have 4 words and 4 doors, but I think if you try to reduce it to that level of straightforwardness, then we come up with a real problem there. In terms of why wouldn't I just pick this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, trying to read sort of cosmic significance into every layer of the things that Manson has put it in here, I think can easily lead you astray when it seems like these have a definite purpose. It's not that individual word is a cryptic clue in itself, but it's the combination of the words that points us to something. It's easy to get lost doing that. And it's good to try, at least, you know. You got to try everything to try to find something that fits here. I think that's about all that that's all I need to mention from what Thale Kreider brought up. He might post some additional stuff on the Abyss about this. Let me see if there's anything else before we get into the text. I think that's all I've got about the pictures. Anything more you want to point out about the image itself, apart from?
I've tried doing horrible underheaded things like trying to count the tips of the branches.
We are.
Background. Yeah, there's no good. I haven't come up with any satisfactory tallies. So, as much as I would like, this really seems like the picture almost seems to be daring you to try that kind of counting trick, but I haven't found a single one that really came up with a satisfactory result.
Yeah. As much as we all hate the idea of that the solution might be hidden in counting those branches, you bet we all try it. We all try counting stuff whenever there's a bunch of stuff on there. Yeah, there could be some hidden thing indicated in the branches here. It's not as complicated as like room 31 with the weird branches in there, or with like the crossed wires in room 11, but there's some room there. There could be something indicated in there, or they could just be branches. Who knows? Barry,
maybe fourth right, fourth. Maybe the last one is fourth back or something.
Fourth
left. Yeah, or maybe fourth left, which is an alternative for fourth back. It's the opposite of fourth right.
That's not a real word, though, right?
I mean, I don't know if he meant for it to be a real word or not, but
yeah, I mean,
right, left, and
if fourth with and fourth word were sort of like opposites in some way, I could see that way, but they're not. So, anything about the picture that grabs you, that looks interesting or noteworthy that hasn't been noted?
I do like Greg's theory that every stump is a zero. That really pointed out. Other than that, I mean, if that was true, there'd be a lot of zero.
We didn't mention the carpets, but I got nothing to say about the carpets or the steps.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Everything has a good aesthetic feel, but other than that, I do like the flower, and I do think that room 20, just by looking at the 4 rooms, would be the right answer, just because it looks the most welcoming. All the other ones are sort of like, I don't know if you should go in there, but 20's like, all right, come on in.
Always rely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, before we get away from the pictures, can we just insert a quick parenthetical? Because I haven't heard this before, and other people who are watching this might not know this either. What did you mean when you referred to the crossed wires in 11? Could you describe that really quickly?
The crossed wires in 11. I didn't mean that we'd found any particular message in them or anything. I just meant the way that they bend and they cross over each other. Like at one particular point, there's a very sharp corner in the way the wire moves. I mean, it's very suggestive that something is being written or spelled out or indicated by those electrical wires coming off of the doorknob, but no one. And then, barring as always, perhaps White Raven, no one has figured out a message that's written in those wires. So, but it looks so much like there's something written there. These branches are not that evocative, I don't think, but there's enough of them. There's still a possibility that there's something out there.
Yeah, you just have those two straight wooden planks forming those two neat lines, and you really want to see something.
Yeah, like maybe something in the negative space between the branches. Boy, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You can actually make out some letters there if you try to. I can see. You see what I mean? Like if you look at the negative space, the black space, you can kind of see
sort of hard grass off to the side there.
Yeah.
I guess.
See like a 3 and a.
There's a 2. You can make a 2 in the very like sort of center of the foreground tree.
Yeah, I see it.
There's something else next to it. That's fun. This is fun. Look at this. There's another ass.
We solved another one in the bag.
Yeah. I'm gonna be funny.
Okay. Well, now I am going to abandon the picture. Let's go over the text. The tree room, they call it. Now, I think that's an interesting lead-in to call it the tree room, as opposed to any single word that would seem to be more like a more apt description. Like, it seems like whatever kind of room this is, whether you'd want to call it a bower or an arboretum or whatever, the tree room seems like a sort of fairly inelegant way of describing it, like almost like he's avoiding using a different word to describe it, which does strengthen me somewhat that maybe we're supposed to think of this place as a bower. I don't know.
Yeah, it's also worth noticing that there are other rooms that have a singular tree in them that seem as though they would be more apt for the title, like Room 30 or Room 31, the Adam and Eve room or the spooky skeleton tree room. Either one of those would seem like a better candidate for the tree.
That's true. Maybe tree is supposed to include the letter 3. The tree room.
I tried to do that on Rung 30 and nobody liked it. 3 times 7 or whatever. I tried it. I'm really trying. I loved having 3. I loved that.
Oh, are these real? They asked. I told them the trees were as real as anything else in the house. As this was an important decision, I encouraged them to take their time. It is an important decision, but we know that the guy doesn't really care about that. So why is he talking to us about time? After all, the more they think about the possibilities, the more choices they have to make. I don't know why that would be, that the more they think about the possibilities, the more choices they have to make. The only thing I could connect that to is if they think about the possible words that could go in, forthwith, forthright, fourth word, fourth, if they think about the possibilities for that, and that gives them forthgoing and forthcoming, then that creates another choice they have to make in figuring out which one of those words is going to give them the door that they're looking for, whether they're going in or out. So it's not multiplying the number of options they have, but the more they think about the possibilities, the more, subjects they have of choices to make, I guess.
This also, on that note, this isn't to contradict you because I like that observation, but I also think that the way that this phrase probably means it's supposed to, the scope of this observation seems to be broader than this room itself, because if it were only about this room, you would probably think it would be in the past tense. The more they thought about the possibilities, the more choices they would have to make. And it being in the present tense, it makes it sound more like it's referring to the maze generally. That being said, the fact that that observation is here in this room means you're right to think that that could have something to do with this room in particular, but probably not exclusively.
What were their chances of choosing wisely? 1 in 4? 2 in 4, perhaps, if I was generous about it. And as we talked about, I mean, obviously there's one door that's going to be best for you, but there are 2 doors of the 4 that are going to be okay. This seems to be a fairly obvious allusion to that, although it's still up in the air whether the phrasing of that infraction form is meant to imply something about the various mathematical transmutations. But the mathematical operations you can do in the room to arrive at the different numbers or relate different numbers.
Which actually, before you go on, I think it's probably worth reminding ourselves that, at least according to White Raven says that room 30, the Adam and Eve room, is the only one where there is, where a solution hinges on a mathematical operation that's more complex than just addition or subtraction.
That's true. That's
his isn't the
Yeah.
final word. He at least seems satisfied. Like, I think White Raven would feel satisfied that there's no multiplication or division or exponents or fractions.
Mm-hmm. Well, although I think the White Raven has acknowledged Kon-Tiki's 1/4 solution in room 13. You know what I'm talking about? So, but I mean, that was a solution that White Raven didn't have. So it's not that his prior statement was incorrect. It was just based on the information he had.
Yeah, that prior statement.
Right. Obviously, it still means that White Raven doesn't see a multiplication problem in this room.
Probably not, but yeah, you're right, because the comment that I was referring to was somewhat older, and yeah, so he may have changed his mind on that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still, there's the possibility of stuff like that there. Although I think those mathematical operations here are probably so obvious that if White Raven found them compelling, he probably would have, I'm sure they occurred to him. I'm sure he would have broken down if he found them. Be worthwhile. And I don't know, I mean, I would note them, but I certainly couldn't imagine ever thinking that that was a serious clue to the exit if I didn't know the right answer already. But if I were in a pinch, maybe I would do the 1/4 5s, 1/4 of 20 thing. I don't know. Anyway, 2 and 4 perhaps if I was generous about it. And why not be generous? There are 190 doors in this part of the house, counting the gate, enough for everyone. Now, this is a big statement in the book. This is something that ranges, far outside. It has implications far outside this room, and it seems like it's just kind of dropped in there for no particular reason in this room too. It seems like there's no reason why in this room he needed to throw out, hey, there are $190 in the maze. I mean, this business about why not be generous? There are 190 doors here, enough from everyone. Obviously, doesn't make any sense. When he talks about being generous before, he's talking about being generous in his estimations of or his what he considers to be a wise choice as to a door, not generous in giving out doors to people. The fact that there are 190 doors has nothing to do with anything, but it gets kind of squeezed in there that there are 190 doors in this part of the house.
And you can't overlook that this part of the house. What does that even mean? What the?
And it's and unless you actually go through and start counting, you're right. You have no clue what that means. Does that mean this entire maze, or what is he talking about? What has 190 doors? What constitutes a door? To reach that 190 figure, you've got to count doors in room 24 that you can't see.
Yeah.
And moreover, the 190 count is wrong because it does not include the secret door to room 17. And this is really interesting because it's not like he tells the visitors there are 190 doors in this part of the house. If he were lying to them, that's par for the course. What else is new? But this is just his own internal monologue, and he's saying that there are 190 doors in the house, which is very strange. For essentially the guide to be lying to the reader when the reader doesn't really figure into this. Nowhere in the book is it suggested that the guide is trying to mislead or even interact with someone who's reading a book. It's just his inner monologue as he's leading the guests through the book, So why would he lie? Why is he lying about the number of doors?
Well, okay, so the logic is that that if we counted the hidden 417, then we would have 191 doors.
Yes, right.
So what if we dropped the? Well, I guess I was looking at room 32 where the statue busted out, and I was thinking, what if we didn't count that broken wall as a door? But it does have a sign open, so it does seem to have been authenticated.
Right. Yeah. Plus, if you didn't,
like a way to get down a door.
That's an interesting point, though. But then you've also got to count like the hole that was dug in room 27 as well, which is kind of the same deal as the broken wall. It's something that he appears to be surprised by, but you have to count it to get your 190. Yeah, and of course the 190 includes not only things that we would think of as being actual doors, but it includes both sides of the slide from 41 to 38. It includes ladders, holes, whatever.
Does it include things like, no, I'm sure it does. Never mind.
Anything that takes you from one room to another gets you 2 doors, essentially. The door you come from and the door you arrive in. With the exception of the gate, presumably. Now, when I say that the number he gives is wrong, it's because I'm assuming that the gate is only counted once. Because the gate that you see in the prologue is clearly the exact same door that you see in 1. Whereas, although, the door in 10 is just the other side of the door in 37, right?
Right, and the slide clearly leads down into the broken key room, 38.
Although the problem is, even though the door in 10 is supposed to be the other side of the door in 37, those 2 doors are completely incompatible.
Yeah.
Like, one opens in the middle, and it's 2 doors with pull knobs that open in the middle, and then the door in door 10 is just a door on a hinge that opens from the side with a handle. So it seems like it does still have to be 2 doors there. So he's covered his bases there as well. That has to be 2 doors.
This is an interesting question. I wonder if there's any pair of doors that really appears to be unambiguously the same door.
You'd have to essentially be able to see into the next room through the door.
I just think the door being of the same style and having the same knob and so. I don't know.
I don't think there is, but it's something we could take a look at. Anyway, why the guide says that, I don't know.
It's like and that he's not really breaking a fourth wall or anything, but he's trying to deceive himself.
Could be. It could be that. Well, I was gonna say it could be that he doesn't know about the hidden door, but that's clearly not true because he seems to try to discourage the blind man from helping you out when you're in room 29, which is certainly he's aware that there's a hidden door there that they're sending you to. Yeah. I don't know, man. And then the thing is, it's not like, let's say it had just said there are 190 doors in this part of the house, enough for everyone. Didn't say anything about counting the gate. It's not like that's giving it away. It's not like if Christopher Manson had done that all of a sudden everyone would have instantly found the hidden door. Counting all the doors in the mix and figuring out what counts and what doesn't is more complicated than finding the hidden door in room 29. So it seems like that would have been an ingenious and perfectly acceptable and fair clue that there's a door in here that you're missing. To give an accurate count of the number of doors. But I guess it's still pretty sneaky to do it the way he did it because now, even without counting the doors, you can say, wait a minute, if every door has a counterpart door, there should be an even number of doors. And then if you add the gate, that should give you an odd number of doors. So how do we have 190? There's something weird going on here. Although it's still kind of a weird leap to make from that to say there must be a hidden door in here that the guide is not counting here. I think it would just be confusing. And so I don't know. It seems to be what that's about, is making reference to the hidden door, but I don't know. God knows why it's done the way it is, and whether it would ever actually function as a... Okay. Making a choice. They entered a very long, dark corridor and at last came out into. And that's what I mentioned before about the long dark. I tried to relate it to the tree branches that are dark in the foreground, but I don't know.
I think it's interesting that we have making a choice highlighted here in this room of many branching choices. It's just an interesting thing. It might have just been thrown in. I don't think that would be a clue, but I wonder if that was a deliberate idea.
That's interesting. I'm sorry, what, Barry?
I was saying you should take credit for that one. That's good. Lots of credit. Yeah, go on.
All the credit for that.
Yeah.
Right on up. Snatch it on up there.
Our next dedication episode will be dedicated to Beals here, and we'll just do a whole show about how much we appreciated that insight. No, I think that's an interesting point because they do. I mean, earlier there's this statement about making choices, and about thinking about the possibilities simply opens up more choices that you have to make, which does seem to sort of fit with the branching tree theme. Although we've also got a lot of severed branches here, which I don't know whether that means anything in regard to the idea of the trees branching out to create more routes or paths or whatever. But independent of that, I mean, there just is the reiteration of choice making from a statement that the more they think about the possibilities, the more choices they have to make, and then reiterating at the end that they're making a choice. They entered a long dark corridor. Yeah, why emphasize there that they made a choice? I mean, it goes without saying if they entered a door that they made a choice. So why is he emphasizing that they made a choice? Lots of questions this episode, not a whole lot of answers.
No, the more we think about the possibilities, the more choices we have.
That's right. This isn't for our benefit. This is for the benefit of those of you who are watching that have made it through this extraordinarily long episode here. This isn't the longest episode we've done, but it's gone a lot longer than I anticipated, given, single room, few people. But I guess once I start talking, you never know how long you're going to be stuck. That's all I've got here. Anything else you think is noteworthy about the text?
No, I'm stumped.
Barry, anything you noticed about the text?
No. I'm still on fourth left.
Okay. All right. Then I guess that's about... Oh.
I haven't even drawn the flower yet.
Oh, are you drawing right now?
Yeah.
Well, have fun.
Well, maybe we should, it's going to be talked about later anyway. But, Andrew, do you have any desires? What you'd like to cover next time?
Oh yeah, well I'm starting to lose track of which rooms we've already done.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It, when we were talking about it before, it does seem in the abstract like, boy, we've gone all over what rooms are left. And then when we started counting them out, it's like vast majority of the rooms are still left.
You know, I've always have we covered room 11 and or 14 yet? We've done 14, haven't we? Or maybe I wasn't there, but
No, we did not do 14 on the show.
I've always thought that those two rooms had a sort of kinship. Maybe we should do the two of them together. They both are rooms where you seem to be small people inside a huge structure, and they both go right to the trap. And I don't know, there's just some sort of thematic union there. Maybe we should talk about it.
We can. I think that might be a lot, though.
Hmm.
I think, well, at least in 14, I think we'll have a lot to say. At 11, we don't have quite so much, but we've done a lot of things that look like something. I'd be on board for that. And then, well, if you want to do it, I guess you're stuck presenting that.
Okay.
All right. And if it seems like we're going to have too much, then we could just do one or the other. Okay. That's it for tonight, then. Good night, gentle viewers.
All right.
Andrew, and thanks, Barry, for making another appearance on the show. Hope to see you next week. You know, there should be... There we go. There's my button that says stop broadcast. Good night.